Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the CAsToR Career Enhancement Core webinar to help you create your NIH Science CV Biosketch. I just realized I didn't use the same title we used on the flyer. Sorry about that. But the purpose of this presentation is to work with you on developing your NIH Biosketch in the new format and answer any questions you may have. I'm Ella August. I think I know most of you, but because we're recording, I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. I'm a clinical associate professor at the University of Michigan School of Public Health, and I'm also part of the CAsToR Career Enhancement Core. So as I mentioned, the purpose of this presentation is to help you learn to create your Biosketch in the new format using Science CV. Science CV is a new tool that helps researchers create and format grant and funding forms according to the new NIH guidelines. I think we have a small enough group that this can be a working session where you follow along. We'll see how that goes once we kind of get to where the rubber meets the road and we can kind of take stock. But if that ends up not being possible, hopefully my presentation and my slides are detailed enough for you to follow along in the recording, which you can pause afterwards and work on your own. So I'm happy to take general questions along the way. Molly, are you willing to sort of keep an eye on the chat?
Yep.
Yeah, you can raise your hand, put your questions in the chat. If you have something that you feel like is maybe really specific to your situation, if you could just hold that to the end, I'll hang out afterward and chat with anyone who has sort of a specific thing they're wrestling with. I also wanted to mention I'm also very new to this system, and I may not have immediate answers to your questions. So if I don't know right now, I can definitely circle back afterward. Definitely ask questions, though, because it's a great way for me to learn as well. So thanks to Molly for organizing the webinar and all the prep materials and for hosting. And thanks to the rest of the Career Enhancement Core for supporting the presentation and providing feedback. David Mendez, Ritesh Mistry, Nargis, Travis, and of course, Molly. So I'm going to start with an overview of the system to give a sense of the big picture first. Okay. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to start with a headline. The headline being that the new Biosketch format, which was originally required for all NIH grants starting January 25th, 2026, has been moved back. So there is now a leniency period in place through May 26th. Well, you'll get sort of a flag or an error if you are using the old format, but you can still submit grants using the old format for your Biosketch. So they are giving extra time because some users have been experiencing issues with the system. I have learned as much as I can about these issues and hopefully can help you navigate around some of them through this presentation. And stay tuned for an announcement about the exact date when the new Biosketch requirement will be enforced. Now I have an overview. I'm calling this the Science CV ecosystem. And just to kind of give you a sense of the big picture, because I think one of the big strengths of this system is that it pulls from different sources and profiles and populates, is able to really populate information in drawing from these sources. So this is sort of my depiction. So Science CV is an application within your My NCBI account. And the new common forms are contained within the Science CV application. So the common forms include biosketches, which The Biosketch common form includes the supplement within that form. And then also current and pending support, otherwise known as other support, is also a separate common form within that application. Some other important parts of this ecosystem are your ORCID ID and your ERA Commons profiles. You could see them up top, and they need to be linked to your ScienceCV account. You will also draw from your NCBI My Bibliography profile, which is here on the left, when populating your Biosketch form. All right. So there's definitely a bit of investment up front in learning this new system, but I want to highlight the benefits or some of the benefits of the new format. And one of the benefits is that the system does format the document for you, the Biosketch document and other documents. To create new versions of your Biosketch, so you're preparing a new grant and you need to sort of update your Biosketch, you can duplicate a previous one and edit it right in the system to save yourself time. The same Biosketch format is also used for NSF, also for other federal agencies. So that's a convenience. And then you can store multiple versions for different proposals and agencies within the system as well. Finally, the documents you create in ScienceCV are digitally certified right in the system and then converted to PDF so you can include it with your application. So it's kind of all-inclusive in that way. All right. So we'd sent out some information beforehand about things you need to prepare or you want to prepare if you want to work on your Biosketch during this presentation. I'm just going to quickly recap that. I'm not going to go over it in detail, but because we're recording it, so we have sort of a self-contained recording, you'll need an ORCID ID profile. I am assuming most people have this by now, but it's possible that not everyone does. So you'll need to create your ORCID ID profile, and there's some information here. If you're not sure whether you have one or not, you can go to the this link and check it out. And then it's a very simple process to create an ORCID ID. Then you need to add publications so that you have your publications stored there. The other thing you'll need is an NCBI My Bibliography profile. And so there's some instructions here about how to set up your My Bibliography. And I will say on the front end, there's no need to duplicate all of your publications in both ORCID ID and My Bibliography. So ORCID ID and My Bibliography are two profiles that have your publications listed in them. I'll circle back to this point later, but you don't need to completely update both of these profiles prior to creating your Biosketch. But I will return to that point in a bit. All right. So the thing about ScienceCV is, when we sort of get to the part about populating the fields and actually creating your Biosketch, you'll realize that that's really the easy part. Logging in and linking up your accounts and profiles is a bit of a process, so I'm going to start with that now. So there's more than one way to access ScienceCV. One way is to go directly to the website. You could see I have the website address here at the top of the screen. And this does seem like the most direct way to get to ScienceCV, but you'll see in a moment on the next slide that there is a slightly shorter route. But if you do go to this website, you will see this screen here. And then once you see this screen, you can go ahead and log in from this this website, you just click the login button and you'll see options. Let's see, I guess I don't have the options here, but you will see options of different ways in which you can log in. And the option you should choose is ERA Commons. I'll show a better screenshot of the options in a moment. I assume everyone has an ERA Commons account. So then once you log in with ERA Commons, then you should see your login name here in the top right corner of this view, the website. Honestly, there's not that much you can do from this page. From here, you should click on your login name. Can you see my little mouse when I'm moving it around? Okay, good. So you click on your login name, and then you'll have like a little menu, and from here you can click the dashboard, and that's when this is a good place to be able to do some different activities. This is your dashboard. This is the NCBI dashboard. So if you prefer, it might be easier to go directly to the dashboard and skip the previous step. I just wanted to show that previous slide because many of us might end up there at some point, and just so you know how to get here. If you want to go directly to this dashboard, you can use this address here at the top and just navigate right here. And then from here, you have all these cute little boxes that I just learned are called portlets. And you can click on this bottom one here under Science CV. Click on the Manage Science CV link. And it will take you to the web page. So I just wanted to make the point in this slide, see how this is at the bottom here. You can move the portlets around. I moved my Science CV at the top. This is just a minor detail, but can make life maybe a little bit easier. Just drag it, click and drag. So if you have not already logged in with your ERA Commons, or as I showed on the previous slide, when you click this link here, you'll be presented with some login options. And I want to just say a little bit about logging in now and make the point that how you log into your NCBI account, especially the first time, it's important for how your accounts and profiles are linked. So from what I understand, a number of problems have arisen for people, and it relates to how they log in. In particular, there's been a number of problems related to the sort of erroneous creation or the creation of duplicate accounts. And from what I've learned, the best way to log into NCBI to avoid these problems is through ERA Commons. So that can just be your standard way of logging in. So logging in this way is going to establish your NCBI account with your ERA Commons credentials. It should also link your ORCID ID to your NCBI account. Okay, so I'm just going to walk us through a few of these steps here. So you click this button, log in with ERA Commons. And, this is how I log into ERA Commons. I assume others do as well. I use login.gov. I think we all transitioned to this a few years ago. So the system is going to route you to the ERA Commons platform, and you need to log in there. So this is how I do it with login.gov. I, enter my information, and then I get the code, and I have to type that in. So after you log into your ERA Commons account, it should bring you back to the NCBI dashboard. But if it doesn't, you might need to just navigate back there yourself. Okay, so here you are back at the the dashboard. And so at this point, I suggest taking stock of what links have been made in your Science CV application. So chances are, I think even within this small group, some of us have already gone into the system in different ways. I know the first time I went in, when I was kind of fumbling around and learning it, I went in with my ORCID ID, and I did end up with a duplicate account. It's not clear exactly what the issue was, because I also changed my name. But let's just take stock right now. And if you can follow along on your computer, if you've kind of done the prep work and you're ready to kind of, try to get in here. So what I would do is start with your dashboard here and click on Manage Science CV. And it should take you to a page that looks like this. So this is the Science CV interface right here. And so direct your attention, actually, I think I put a little box around it, to the My Profile section. So the first time, maybe it's not, now is not the best time for you to try to catch up and do this, but the first time you go in, there's a couple of things that you should check. First, check that your name and affiliation are correct. They should auto-populate if you signed in with the ERA Commons. Second, you should see your ERA Commons ID appear here at the bottom. You could see mine with my former name. And then you should also see your ORCID ID listed here. So if one of those things isn't true, then you can, particularly if some of your accounts, either your ORCID ID or your ERA Commons ID is not showing up, you can go ahead and add the accounts manually. So to add accounts, you can go back to your NCBI dashboard. And again, you should be logged in here. Click on your login name in the top right corner. Click on, you'll get this menu here like we saw before. This time, instead of dashboard, you're going to click on account settings. And that will take you to a page. You'll need to scroll down to see this part, but that will essentially take you to this page where you'll be able to see what accounts are linked in your Science CV account. So you can see here that I'm connected with my ERA Commons and also my ORCID ID. These are the two important ones for our purposes here. However, if you did need to add an account at this point, you can click this button here, and that will bring up a menu. And you can type into this little search box, ERA Commons or ORCID ID. And those menu options won't appear for me because I'm already linked up, so I can't really show you how to do it. But take my word for it, those options should be there. And then you could just go ahead and add them. So once all your accounts are showing up, then you're in a good place. There's a few more checks that I'm suggesting at the risk of overkill. And this is, I guess I just have one more check here. So what we're doing here in this slide is to check to make sure that your ORCID ID is appearing when you create a new document in Science CV. We're going to check to make sure that your ORCID ID is appearing in the new document, and also that it is your ORCID ID. And the reason is because some users have been experiencing duplicate accounts and issues in which someone else's ORCID ID can end up in your account. And This has happened when a delegate is entering information for a delegator. And so in some cases, the delegate's ORCID ID will end up in the delegator's documents, or sometimes it can just get conflated. So this step is just to double check to make sure. So what I'm suggesting in this slide is to, from the dashboard, go into the system, Science CV, and click on New Document. And you can name your document here. And we're gonna build on this in a moment when we actually start to populate our Biosketch. So this will serve two purposes. We're going to check the ORCID ID now, and then we're going to use this one to create the document in a moment. So you could see the ORCID ID is here and the ERA Commons, but we want to see, once we create a new document, is it showing up there? So click on this New Document button, select Biosketch, name it, and then start with a blank document and create. And once you hit the Create button, it will take you to a page that is the page where you're building your Biosketch. And this is a screenshot of the top of that page. And so the thing you want to look for in this new document you've just created is look at the persistent identifier, the PID, and just make sure that your ORCID ID is there and that it's correct. Okay. This step is important. It's important to make sure your ORCID ID is there and it's correct, because you can't certify and download the document unless and until the ORCID ID is in place. So if your ORCID ID is not here in your new document, you can click this little button, Edit, and then you can actually add it from this screen. Just kind of glancing over this, also looks like my ERA Commons, just as a double check, is in place, which is a good thing. So I think that is all the checking that I'm suggesting, but just make sure everything is together and correct. And you can just kind of keep this open if you're following along. It might be a little bit hard to follow along these steps in real time, but if you are following along on the video, keep that open. And then we are now going to transition to creating the Biosketch. I have just a few slides to get us ready before we actually launch into that with some pro tips. There's a few things that I stumbled into myself when I was practicing that, I found workarounds to, and I found other tips poking around on the NIH website, and a few also came from the MD Anderson materials, which are quite good. So thank you to them. All right, so I'm going to cover just a couple of errors that tend to pop up or that can pop up when you're creating your Biosketch. One error you might see while working in the Science CV system: this action could not be completed. Please try again later. This is because this has been popping up because the site has been overwhelmed because of the switch. There's just a lot of people on the website. Really nothing we can do to erase this or to fix it. What I would suggest is to log out, to log back in, maybe wait a few hours. If it's really, you're not able to log in and it's a real problem, you may need to contact the NLM help desk. Okay, so this is an error you could get related to the problem I mentioned earlier with the ORCID IDs. The third-party account you tried to link is already linked to another NCBI account. This means you have multiple NCBI accounts. In this case, you will need to contact the NLM help desk and request that your accounts be merged. This is something that I did. And my accounts were merged. It did take a few weeks. So they're, working as hard as they can. But I think that there's just a lot of demand right now on the system. And yeah, that's something you can do for that error. This is another error that you might see when you're creating a new document and you're trying to use ORCID as an external source to populate your data. And I realize we haven't really kind of gone into this example of how to do this. But I have gotten this error a few times lately. We could not import from your external source because your ORCID access token has expired. All this means is that I've been logged on for too long. You just need to log out of everything and then log back in, and the problem should be resolved. Okay, so now some quick tips, and then I promise we will get started populating the formatting. Common forms cannot include any formatted text. So you can't bold, you can't use italics, bullet points, anything like that. If you have like a special character like alpha, you need to spell it out. This is particularly relevant in the narrative section, which is in the supplement. Okay, I'm not going to read all this. There's a lot of text here. I decided to paste the entire FAQ from the NIH website because I know this was creating some confusion, particularly early on, which is why they just added this as a new FAQ. So basically, as you probably know, if you've submitted an NIH grant, the NIH does not allow you to include any hyperlinks in your grant application documents. And when you're creating a science CV Biosketch, you should not add any hyperlinks that you created. However, some hyperlinks are auto-generated through the science CV system, such as the My Bibliography or the link to your ORCID ID profile. So these are exceptions, and they are acceptable as long as they are generated by the system. Okay, we're finally ready. So I'm going to go through a series of screenshots and just show kind of blow by blow how to set up your Biosketch. I do have some additional tips and comments along the way for certain sections of the Biosketch. So bear with me. And I'm going to I'm going to go through these, and I think we will have time at the end. I don't know if you're able to kind of keep up or if this is too fast. So once I go through these set of slides, then we can kind of open it up, and you're welcome to ask questions or even start working on your Biosketch, sort of at the end. And, we'll be here if there's any issues that arise. So there are multiple ways to create a Biosketch. I'm suggesting that you click on New Document. I'm suggesting that you start with a blank document. There are some other options here. So name it, choose the NIH Biographical Sketch Common Form. This is how we set it up earlier. And start with a blank document. So the first section, we already looked at this. We made sure that the ORCID ID was correct. And if it's not, you can do the edit here. Add your professional preparation. These are your degrees, and you can enter them in any order, and it will order them in reverse chronological order, which is what is required. And this is part of what is nice about the Biosketch application, is that it will sort of format things for you. For your appointments and positions, which is the next section, This first primary appointment should already have auto-populated. It should already appear on your Biosketch page. It's really important that you designate your primary position, or just double check that it is with this little checkbox here. You could go on edit and then make sure this is clicked for your primary position, because you can run into problems if this is not marked. So the next thing you're going to do is to populate your document with products from publications from my bibliography and or from ORCID. So there are two sections. There are products closely related to the proposed project, and you can choose up to 5. And then there's also the next section is other significant products highlighting contributions to science. So what you do in both of these sections is you sort of toggle back and forth between my bibliography and ORCID ID. And you can choose publications from, both sides or both profiles to make the 5 products here in each section. Now, there will be some overlap between my bibliography and ORCID ID. In other words, you probably have the same publication listed on both profiles, but you also may have a publication only listed in one profile. So you can sort of toggle back and forth between them and add, whatever publications you need from, either one of these profiles. Okay, there's a few more quirks I'm going to point out here. And particularly, I made this error when I was practicing. Oops. The system will let you choose the same publication from my bibliography and ORCID ID. And I accidentally did this when I was creating one of these product lists. So this is the product list. There's 5 products. You could see product 1 and product 5 are the same citation. And it's because it won't let you choose the same citation. You can't from one profile. From my bibliography, you can't choose this, a citation twice, but you can choose it in my bibliography and in ORCID. And I think the reason this happened is because there is a slight difference in the way that the citation was entered. I think this is from my bibliography, and this is from ORCID ID. And so it wasn't recognizing it as the same publication. So just keep an eye on that. Probably that wouldn't happen to you, but it's just something to be aware of. The other situation that you may encounter is that you'll have publications you want to include, but they're not listed on either profile. So, for example, you can see here in my bibliography, I have 24 citations. Well, I have more than 24 papers. And I think that most of us won't have or may not have complete lists in both profiles or in either profile. So the point here is if something isn't showing up, you have a citation that is not included already, either in my bibliography or in ORCID, you can search PubMed or add a publication manually to either one. So probably the easiest way to add a publication from this screen is to click this button right here, Add Product. This is when you're in My Bibliography. Click Add Product, and then this will pop up here. And this allows you to search PubMed for your publication. And it will it will add it to your My Bibliography, and then you can select it to be included. Okay, so the next section of your Biosketch is the supplement. So the supplement is part of the Biosketch common form. The narrative is in the supplement. So the first section of the supplement is a personal statement. And recall that you're not able to format the text here. And honors. This is where you add honors. This part, in my experience, has been pretty straightforward. Just click this button, add your honors. And another narrative part here about your contributions to science. Type them in this box. And then the final step is to certify the information by clicking the blue button right here at the end of this, page, and a PDF document will be generated that looks really nice. Looks like this. If you're a delegate, and I'm not, going to cover delegates' activities too much here, but if you are a delegate, it won't allow you to certify. It will ask you if you want to send the document to the delegator to certify it, and then you'll get a notification when they certify it. That is the end of my slides, and I think we could probably stop the recording